Today I want to show you 10 useful items you can store in the center of a corkscrew of a Swiss Army knife. So stay tuned if this sounds interesting for you. Hello YouTube! Welcome to another Swiss Army Knife workshop video. In this series I show you maintenance and customization tricks for your Swiss Army knife. If you ask me which option on the back side of a Swiss Army knife I would prefer, the Phillips screwdriver or the corkscrew, I can give you a clear answer. On the knives I use for my carving classes, I prefer the Phillips screwdriver. This is because I teach them to use the small blade as often as possible for whittling tasks in wood. Like this they can achieve a more efficient cut. In this old video I explain you how this works. The problem is, if they whittle with the small blade of a Swiss Army knife with a corkscrew on it, this spiral of the corkscrew will press into the palm. Can you see that? And after a few minutes it starts to hurt if you have a sensible palm. This is the reason why I prefer the flat surface of a Phillips screwdriver for my carving classes. Personally, I don't have a sensible palm. That's why it's never my problem that these spirals are pressing into my palm. And I know much more tricks and uses with a corkscrew than with a Phillips screwdriver. This is the reason that on my personal knife I prefer the corkscrew over the Phillips screwdriver. Many of these additional uses and tricks are based on the fact that in the center of the corkscrew you have a hole, and this hole you can use as container, so you can put things in, you can close the container, and now the stored things can't fall out. Before I present you my 10 DIY options, I would like to show you 5 different screw-in tools which you can buy at Victorinox. The most well-known screw-in mini tool is for sure the 1.5mm screwdriver. With this tool you can loosen a one-way cable tie, for example, or you can tighten the hinge screws of your sunglasses. This one you can buy separate, it costs about $2. Another option you can buy at Victorinox is this mini tool set. This mini tool set consists of the mini screwdriver I showed you right before in the size 1.5mm, a Phillips screwdriver in the size 000, a Torx in the size T4, and a SIM card pin. So this set costs about $15. The link to buy it you will find in the description box below. The last screw-in tools for the corkscrew is the fire end set. Such a fire end consists of a tinder coil with a tinder which works in all conditions, and a mini fire steel. In this old video I tried out if I'm able to start 100 fires with a single fire end. As much I know and as much I tried out, all these mini tools and fire ends fits in all different sizes of Swiss Army knives. In 111mm knives, in 91 and 84mm knives, and in the 130mm knives. And now let's jump over to my 10 DIY solutions. As soon we talk about the DIY insert tools for Swiss Army Knife corkscrews, the inside diameter of the corkscrew becomes super important. As much I know, there are basically 2 different sizes of corkscrews on the Swiss Army knives. on the 91mm knives, on the 111mm knives and on the 84mm knives are, in my opinion, the same corkscrews. On the 130mm knives is a bigger corkscrew. On the small ones we have an inside diameter from 2.5mm. And on the big corkscrews we have an inside diameter from 3.5mm. Now it's important to know for you that the inside diameter of corkscrews from the same size can be a little bit different. Here, for example, I can pull through the 2.5mm drill quite easy. Here it's much stronger, and on this corkscrew the drill stops at the last winding. This has to do with the manufacturing tolerances, but it can also be that the corkscrew after the root is not 100% straight. And in my experience, you can try to straighten the corkscrew a little bit, and for that I push the corkscrew on a 2.5mm nail to align the single windings to each other. So this is a 2.5mm nail, so I clamp it in the vise like this. So this is the corkscrew, and now I try to push like this. Now I hope that the nail will align the single windings. So now you can see it's a little bit better, but still not perfect. That's why I go to the next step. What I do now is to search a diamond tool with the right diameter, in this case 2.5mm. And now I put it in the micro drill and try to enlarge the center hole a little bit. And please keep in mind, as soon as you do that, you risk to lose the warranty. So now I check it again. And this helped. Look at this. Perfect. So my friends, now you know how you can align the single windings of this corkscrew, and you know how you can enlarge the center hole if this is necessary. And now we will jump to the 10 options which you can store in the center hole of the corkscrew. During the winter time, if the days are short, or if I make an overnight, I like to push such a glowing stick into the center hole of the corkscrew. This glowing stick has a diameter of 3mm and a length of 26mm. Actually, I ordered the wrong ones, because you can order them also with a diameter of 2.5mm, which would fit perfect into the corkscrew hole. But this fits also, I just have to push it a little bit. So first thing you have to do is to break the inner tube a little bit, so that it starts to glow. And now I push it in, so like this, gently. So like this. Such a glowing stick costs less than 5 cents, burns longer than 12 hours, And hey, look at this. I really like it. To have some cord is always a good idea. Here I have 60 centimeters cord. And now I'll wrap it around like this. Take it away, twist it in, and now I turn it around the windings of the corkscrew like this. I cover it with a string tube. So now the cord is protected and can't wind off. Perfect. To drill a hole from under 4 mm with the Swiss Army knife reamer is actually impossible. That's why it can be super valuable if you can carry a drill bit. So this drill bit has a diameter from 2.5 mm and fits exactly in the center hole of the corkscrew. That you can use this drill bit, you need a straight stick. Then split it carefully. Like this. Now put in the drill bit like this, and with a little bit cord you can fix it. Now you are able to drill a little hole. Sometimes a single nail can help to realize your crafting project or your bushcraft project. So this can be a simple iron nail or a hardened steel nail. I prefer the steel nail, and I like to make the tip very pointy. Like this, I can use it also as scratching marker. I'll show you now how you can make a very precise and sharp tip on the nail. For that, I use my cordless drill and the bench grinder. So now this tip is scary pointy. So now just store it in the corkscrew and you will always have a nail, in this case a sharpened steel nail, for your bushcraft or for your crafting project. This can be helpful, for example, if you want to make a trigger for a crossbow, or if you need an axis for a wind wheel or something like that. To have access to a paper clip or a safety pin if you are outdoors is never wrong. A safety pin, for example, you can use in an emergency situation to fix a bandage, or a safety pin you can band up to a straight piece of wire. And a straight piece of wire you can use for 1,000 things, especially if you like to improvise things, if you like to craft things like me. These items are stored a little bit different as the rest because I don't store them in the center hole, so I store them behind the corkscrew and the aluminium liner. So I put them on the aluminium liner and now I close the corkscrew. So I put the safety pin on the aluminium liner like this, and now I close the corkscrew. This looks like this. If I'm outdoors, I like to have a pen on my Swiss Army knife. I like to be able to draw in the shape of a contour. I like to be able to write something. I like to be able to mark a measure. If you don't have such a mini Swiss Army knife with a pen, or if you don't have a Swiss Army knife with a plus scale, you can improvise that. The end part of some pen mines is thin enough that you can store it in the center hole of a corkscrew. I mean this. So that's why check out different ballpoint pens if the end part of the mine fit in the center hole of the corkscrew. If yes, just shorten it. Sometimes this operation will cause a little color mess on your blade and on your fingers, but sometimes it works just perfect. So now put the mine in like this, close the corkscrew, and now you have a ballpoint pen in your corkscrew. If I want to draw in the shape of a spoon or a fork on the splitting surface of a fresh green wood, it works often super bad because the surface is too wet. In this case, a pencil works much better. Look at this. On the 3D printing platform printables.com, I found the perfect solution to store a 0.7 mm and a 2 mm pencil mine in the Swiss Army Knife Corkscrew. This solution looks like this. The link to these two print files you will find in the description box below. To be honest, I didn't know this idea until now, and I'm a big fan of this idea. Another idea is to store pins or sewing needles in the corkscrew. So in my case, I take 7 pins and the sewing needle, and the pin number 8 you can put in this hole here. Like this. To hold these 7 pins and the shortened sewing needle together, I take a little piece of the smallest string tube I have. I cut away a little piece like this. Take all the needles, put the tips in the string tube like this, and now I heat up the string tube that it holds together all the needles. Now I open the corkscrew, put in the needles and close it. Another good option is for sure to put a fire steel in the 2.5 mm hole of your corkscrew. And this fire steel is exactly 34 mm long. And this fits into the slot of the corkscrew. If you are looking for a simpler but cheaper alternative to these fire ends, you can buy a fire steel with the perfect dimensions on the website from Messer & Co. This fire steel calls Zündelzwerg. The link from this Zündelzwerg fire seal you find in the description box below. And if your 2.5 or 2.4 mm fire seal doesn't fit in the corkscrew like this, go back to minute 7 in this video. There I showed you how you can align the windings and how you can enlarge the center hole. I really like this solution. So my last option is that you can carry tinder in the hole of your corkscrew. So if you want, you can put a little bit steel wool in the hole of your corkscrew that you can make fire with such a battery. But in my case, I will take a little bit cotton. Now I drill it in like this and turn it around the windings of the corkscrew. So, next step is to soak the cotton with liquid wax. Now I cut off the protruding ends a little bit. So after forming it, it looks like this. And now I cover it with a little bit shrink tube. So. And now you have an easy, inflammable, long-burning tinder on your Swiss Army knife. And this can be super valuable. So my friends, I hope this was an interesting video for you. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and see you in 2 weeks. Ciao!